Henry Grayson slipped into the Silver Fork like a ghost nobody wanted to see. The restaurant glittered under a Friday night spotlight, chandeliers dripping with crystal, marble floors shining like mirrors, and a crowd of the city's elite draped in silk and arrogance, their laughter bouncing off the velvet-draped walls. Henry's gray sweater hung loose on his frail frame, its cuffs unraveling like his patience, and his scuffed shoes squeaked a timid protest against the polished silence. To the waiters darting between tables with trays of caviar and champagne flutes, he was a smudge on their perfect canvasan old man in a faded coat, a nobody who'd wandered too far from the soup kitchen. But Henry wasn't there to play their game. After a day coaxing life from his frost-bitten roses, he craved a warm bowl of soup, a quiet corner, a shred of dignity. He took a small table near the window, the city's neon glow bleeding through the glass. The menu was a leather-bound taunt dishes, with names he couldn't pronounce, prices that mocked his simple life. He settled on the soup of the day and water, a choice that felt like home. Then Chloe Evans swept in. She was all sharp, edgy-shy cheekbones, a sleek black uniform, a ponytail that snapped like a whip. Her blue eyes raked over Henry, and her lips twisted into a sneer that promised cruelty. "Evening," Henry said, his voice soft, weathered, a plea for civility in a room that had none. "Soup of the day and water, please." Chloe didn't just laugh, she performed. "Soup?" she barked, loud enough to turn heads across the packed dining room. "What's this? Grandpa's big night out?" She spun to the bar, her voice a megaphone. "Hey, everyone, check out Soup Guy over here, too broke for a real meal." The bartender, a greasy figure with a smirk to match, let out a hyena's cackle. A table of suits nearby erupted in snickers, one woman in pearls clutching her glass as she whispered, "Pathetic." The room pulsed with mockery, a spotlight of shame pinning Henry to his chair. He didn't flinch. His hands stayed folded, his eyes on the window where the night swallowed the stars. The soup arrived, potato bisque, steam curling like a faint hope, and he ate slowly, each bite a quiet rebellion against the jeers still echoing in his ears. Chloe flung the bill at him like a slap, already flirting with a table of loud bankers flashing gold watches. Henry paid with a crumpled 10, left a tip she'd scoff at, and shuffled out into the cold. The wind clawed at his face, but inside, a volcano erupted. Henry Grayson wasn't the frail fool they'd pegged him for. Decades back, he turned a handful of real estate bets into a fortune that could have bought the Silver Fork and every soul in it. He'd chosen roses over riches, humility over flash, but tonight, they'd crossed a line. In his truck, its engine growling awake, he dialed a number etched in memory, a tycoon who owed him big. "Buy it," Henry said, his voice a low growl. Now, by dawn the Silver Fork would kneel. Saturday morning crept in under a heavy sky, and Henry Grayson returned to the Silver Fork at 10 a.m., when the restaurant was still rubbing sleep from its eyes. The chandeliers hung dim, the marble floor gleamed with fresh wax, and the staff buzzed with pre-lunch prep. Chloe was there, flicking a rag over tables with a scowl, her ponytail still snapping. The bartender polished glasses with half-hearted swipes, and Paul Decker, the managerial wiry man with a face carved from disdain, snapped at a trembling busboy. Henry walked in, same sweater, same shoes, but a thick manila envelope under his arm turned his shuffle into a march. His eyes burned with a fire the room couldn't yet see. Paul spotted him, his lips curling as he strode over. "Back for more, Soup Guy?" he sneered, loud enough for Chloe to snort from across the room. "What's it this time?" water with a side of pity. The bartender chuckled, leaning on the counter like it was a comedy club. Henry didn't blink. He pulled the envelope from his sweater, its edges worn from his grip, and thrust it into Paul's hands. "Open it," he said, his voice a blade wrapped in calm. Paul's sneer faded as he tore into the papers. His eyes darted over the text deeds, contracts, a signature in bold ink, and his hands shook, the pages trembling like leaves in a storm. His face drained to a sickly white sweat beading on his brow. What is this?" he croaked, his voice breaking. "I'm not here for soup," Henry said, stepping forward, his gaze a vice on Paul's section. As of 6 a.m., I own this place, every table, every glass, every laugh you threw at me last night." The room stopped breathing. Chloe's rag hit the floor with a wet slap, her jaw dropping. The bartender's glass clinked hard against the counter, his smirk vanishing. Whispers exploded among the staff, heads craning to see the old man who'd just flipped their world. Paul clutched the papers, his voice a rasp. "You? You bought it? This is a joke." "No joke," Henry said, turning to the crowd. His voice rose, a thunderclap in the silence. "Last night, I came here for a meal. I ordered soup and you," he jabbed a finger at Chloe, "humiliated me in front of everyone. You," he glared at Paul, "let this place fester with cruelty. You laughed because I didn't fit your mold. You're about to learn how wrong you were." Chloe stumbled back, her face paling as panic replaced her swagger. The bartender shrank, eyes darting for an exit. Paul sputtered, "You can't!" But Henry silenced him with a look. "Chloe Evans," he said, his voice iron, "you turned my meal into a circus. You're fired. Get out." She recoiled, her eyes blazing. "You can't do this. I'm the star here." "You're nothing here," Henry snapped. "Go." Paul lunged, papers crumpling. "I'm the manager. I built this place." "You built a sewer," Henry said, cold as stone. "You're done." Henry's judgment fell like an axe. Chloe, Paul, the bartender, a hostess who'd giggled they were named, shamed, and sent packing, their protests drowned by the echo of their own laughter from the night before. Bags slung over shoulders, they fled the room they'd once owned. But Henry wasn't there to raise the silver fork. He was there to raise it anew. Miguel Torres lingered in the shadows, a busboy with dark eyes and a quiet grace. Last night, he'd slipped Henry an extra roll with a shy nod, a lifeline in the storm of scorn. Henry remembered. "Miguel," he called, and the young man stepped forward, hands trembling. "You saw me when they didn't. You're the manager now. Make this right." Miguel gaped. "Me? I'm just a busboy." "You're the heart this place needs," Henry said, a flicker of warmth in his steel. The surviving staff stood hushed as Henry laid down the law. Every soul through that door gets respect soup or steak, rags or riches. Fail, and you're gone. No one flinched. By noon, new faces arrived, kind souls Henry had hand-picked. The silver fork, transformed overnight. Word of the old man's coup spread, and soon the tables brimmed with a new crowd workers, families, even the curious elite all greeted with dignity. Sales soared, the air thick with life. Henry watched from his window table, soup steaming, as Miguel grew into his role. One night, the young man approached. "Mr. Grayson, thank you. I'll make you proud." "You already have," Henry said, smiling faintly. At the door, he glanced back, the silver fork reborn, a monument to respect. Henry had turned their laughter into silence, and then into something better.